everyone and welcome to 27. I've done a few videos comparing some of the air-cooled cars, in particular 964s and 993s. I've been criticised in the past because I was comparing a C4, for example, against a C2, and I know that wasn't quite right. So today we've got two RS clones. They're both C2s, they're both RS clones, 964 and 993. And we're going to have a look and see how they drive and what they're like as cars, and maybe try and put to rest once and for all how I feel about a 993 properly spec'd, like as a track car and so forth, and a similar 964. Now, I know this 964, I've known it for a while because it's actually Stan's car. You may remember him, Sleepy, from the 996 video that I did previously. I've long admired it. It's a really nice car and it has a lot of mods that I would like to have done myself as well. I'd say that the 964 RS versus 993, one of the biggest differences that with the 964 RS really wasn't massively different to the standard 964 C2. Yes, a load of bits were taken out for lightness, and little details were changed. Things like the linkage to the gearbox, the bushers, the engine mounts, all those little things were done, but it wasn't massively different. The engine, for example, was really just a blueprinted and chipped version of the normal 964 engine, whereas on the 993 it was actually a 3.8, different cams, so quite different beasts, I think, in conception. And this here is another very, very nice 993, completely RS spec as well. Now, this particular car is really almost entirely to RS spec. I think the only ways in which it differs is that the shell hasn't been seam welded and the rear calipers are not the same as an RS. Oh, and the gearbox as well. Although it has the linkage and everything on that side, it doesn't actually have the RS ratios. But aside from that, everything to incredible minutiae and detail has been done, including the suspension linkage, so the uprights, all those bits, the bushings, they are all RS. The engine on this is a 3.6, not a 3.8, but it was fettled. It has a 9-Meister top end with other bits and bobs, which basically bring up output to, we think, about 330 horsepower. Stan's car is probably running it similar to mine in spec, so it has a cup cam, but it also has specialized components induction kit. So it should be putting out maybe 300, 310 horsepower. We'll see how they compare when I take them out for a drive. Right, starting off in Stanley's 964. I've been friends with Stan, known as Sleepy, for quite a long time, and I've been looking at this car with envy. It does look like one of the best sorted 964s out there, as well as all the RS clone bits that have gone on there to make it very close to an RS. It also has a 993 6-speed gearbox. So Stan went the same route as I did by converting the car from a C4 to a C2, but he went the expensive and very cool route of putting a 6-speed 964 gearbox in it. Now, this is ideal if you can afford it, because you get a sort of, the ratios are shorter, closer together, so it kind of livens up the engine. In addition, Stan has also fitted the specialized components induction kit. That also includes up-spec'd injectors, and he had his engine rebuilt with a cup spec cam, as I did. But obviously the specialized component sort of induction kit is on top of that. Now, his car isn't quite as lightweight as mine is. It's got a lot of creature comforts. It's got a radio with an amplifier and all sorts of bits and bobs. But he has got it really nicely spec'd. It does go really well. Sounds really good too. He's got a Dansk exhaust on, twin exit. Obviously not quite as crisp and track focused as my own 964 is, number 27, but all the same, really nice car to drive. It'll be very interesting to see how it compares to Matt's 993. That engine goes really well and it sounds so good. It's a really nice compromise for road. He's got Bilstein PSS 10s on it. They go really well. You got good ride. And they seem to be able to control the car pretty well as well. This is an RS flywheel, so the engine spins pretty freely. It's quite linear, but it literally pulls all the way through the rev range. And you do have to rev it to get the best from it. It actually feels slightly less. It actually seems slightly less torquey than my own 964 engine. I'm not sure if that's perhaps to do with, I don't know, that can't be the shorter ratios. It's a really, really, really nice car. I think for the road, this is probably the best 964 I've ever driven. Really, really good. These seats are basically RS spec. They're pole positions, which are pretty much almost identical to the RS ones that are used. And they're really, really good seats. They're really natural. They hold you in position. Like the analog feel of this car. Steering really lightens up at speed. Yeah, this is a sports, a Porsche sports wheel, which I've seen in some of the other cars. It's not actually an RS wheel. It's quite thick rimmed, but it is really, it's nice to use and nice to hold. Seems like on Stan's car, the front end is actually the first thing to wash out, so the back is really, really solid. And if you push it on a corner, it's the front that tends to start scrubbing, or that's the message you get through, which is, you know, which is good. I'd like it to be a tiny bit more neutral on that side, a little bit sharper at the front end. I love the fact that you get to 6,000 revs and there's just a little bit of extra impetus from the engine. Okay, let's see how the 993 goes. Now obviously both of these cars are highly individually modified and set up. So I'm not going to be able to make sweeping statements about 993 RSs and 964s. But immediately the suspension setup that this has feels much more stiffly damped, and it's definitely much more front-endy as well. Matt drives this car very much on track and you can feel it. I think it's still alright for the road, but having driven this now, it feels like Stan's car could do with maybe a little bit more, I don't know, maybe rebound damping or something along those lines. Now you can hear the brake squeal because he's got some competition pads on this as well. The engine does feel stronger. For the road, for these kind of roads, this is probably just a little bit too stiffly sprung. But it is much better balanced than Stan's car. It doesn't have that sort of tendency towards understeer. I guess maybe that's just personal preference. Really, really nice. I like this a lot. There's a There's a certain amount of precision in it that was lacking in Stan's car. Sorry, Stan, but I have to admit that. I think a 964 is more road biased than this is. But if you're driving at 10/10, this is better set up. I think despite the stiffer suspension, you can feel that multi-link rear end just gives it an air of, well, not an air, but it just makes it more sophisticated. It's really well set up. It is just a joy to drive. Oh, really neutral in corners. Just set up just right. What an amazing car. Both of them are like incredible cars, but in this very unscientific number 27 test, I'm sorry again, Stan, but this 993 pips your 964 in terms of pure driving anyway. It's just, it feels more solid, it's a little bit more balanced. I mean, they both have their sort of good points, and personally I really do prefer the way the 964 looks. I think Stan's one is just, it's practically perfect the way he's got that car. But this is just a bit more fun on the road. Oh. Now Stan has Bilstein PSS 10s, this has KW V3s. Really feels very, very good. Now the gearboxes actually feel pretty similar, and that's because I think they are exactly the same. Stan has the 993 box in his car, and you know, they're great to use. They're a bit better than the standard 964 box, the C2 box that you have. It's a bit crisper, the ratios help. In other respects, the controls they don't feel that different. On the whole, for me today, this 993 pips the 964. In everything really, apart from looks. The engine pulls stronger, the chassis is probably a little bit better set up. I do love Stan's car. I think it's amazing. It's the best 964 I've driven for the road, but maybe it could just do with a bit of fettling on the damping, but there really isn't much between them. It almost comes down to personal preference in the end. Thank you everyone for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't, and see you for the next one.